Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. This week's show, we're going to recap BJJ Stars 6, headlined by Felipe, Pena, and
Patrick Gaudio.
We are also going to recap Fight to Win 175, headlined by Ethan Kronston and Gabriel Souza. We are also going to recap SUG 24, which is the $10,000 tournament of who is going to fight Mason Fowler again. We're also going to preview Fury's Pro Grappling CFFC's Pro Jiu-Jitsu event that is happening next week, because it is the only thing happening next week, and it's their first event.
This week, Friday.
As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Josh.
Very tired, Josh.
Yeah.
Did commentary all day yesterday. It was great. Yeah, back to work now. This week in news, biggest news we have is ADCC 2022's dates have been announced.
Officially announced.
I mean, we've kind of known the dates for a while now, for like 6 or 8 months now. I think it was like leaked or something, but like
something like that.
But
yeah.
It's official. It's
the
official.
17th and the 18th of September 2022.
You cannot book hotels or flights that far out. I already tried.
Tickets will go on sale for it exactly 1 year pre-tournament. So September 17th and September 17th, 2021, you'll be able to buy tickets to go there.
I'm going to buy some. Dude, I bought tickets. We got credentialed last time. I still bought tickets, and I was like, just in case.
Rachel went.
She was great. Yeah, both of us got credentialed.
But yeah, you were still. She had the tickets originally.
I don't remember.
Right? And then Emil was there too. So.
Yeah, Emil was there. But I bought tickets, and I was like, I don't know if we're going to need these, but I'm going to buy them anyway. And I
should
still
have
had
scalped them.
Nah, it was great. I want this. I have those tickets to this day. That was a cool event. If you're thinking about it, it's at the Charles and Mack Center or something in Mack Center?
Thomas and Mack Center.
Thomas and Mack Center.
In Vegas, yeah.
In Vegas, right next to the MGM
Which
Grand.
is a huge fucking venue.
Yeah.
Like they do the UFC fights in there.
Mm-hmm.
If like all this bullshit that's going on now is like gone. Honestly,
Josh, I got announced when I got excited.
They should be able to pack that place. Like it holds 17,000 people.
Dude, the last event was 35. I was like 4,000. I was like, I think under 6,000.
Yeah,
and it was door to door, and it was sold out, and like people were trying to get in, and couldn't get in.
You should have scalped them tickets, bruh.
Nah, bro, I had seats. It was awesome.
Should have scalped them.
When I needed to sit down with my back, I got to sit in the seat.
My spine.
And then I got to go back.
You should have brought out a folding camping chair.
Dude, it was
plan ahead.
So yeah, that's the biggest announcement this week.
Galvao doing the super fight.
That was last.
That was a couple weeks ago. It was announced quite a while ago because, as Mo explained, there's a whole like 30-minute interview on the Balea breakdown.
Which is Ricardo Amendolio's podcast. So it's just awesome. He produces some great stuff on apps. I love his interviews because
it's
like
33 minutes long, but Mo just like goes through a bunch of stuff.
Mo's an awesome guy to interview. Yeah. We interviewed him right after ADCC, and he gave us like about a 30-minute interview. And it was just,
pretty sure he wanted to take a nap, and he was like, "Why am I talking to this midget?"
Great.
But yeah, he said he had seen Gordon recently, and that Gordon had put on weight. He was still feeling a little nauseous when eating, but he can eat. So how long did we say that Gordon's retirement was going to last?
I think we did the over-under on like, I said 6 or 8 months. Like I said, he's going to be out, and then before ADCC, like... we're going to see him, I think, before ADCC. He's going to get the itch to compete.
He might not. He might just be like... focusing on all this crazy stuff and not competing.
But I still think we're a year and a half out.
We are.
I think he's going to get like for 16 months, like he's going to get antsy.
Dude, what happens if he just like you don't see him at all?
He does what all the top level guys do: show up to the big event and you don't see him again for a while.
Well, what happens if you don't see him at all? Like he's like, don't take pictures of me. I'm not Instagramming nothing. And he shows up and it just looks like this swollen. Not Stretch Armstrong, but he just looks like a fake like cartoon character with how big he gets. That would be
I'd be excited,
hilarious.
Josh. I'd be very, very excited about that.
So would I.
So let's see. I don't think there's any other big news basically that we think Gordon's not going to be in the super fight. We're speculating about a year and a half out.
Unlikely.
And Galvao's going to be in it, so that'll be the match that we've wanted to see for
forever.
Probably 4.5 years now.
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
Especially after somebody getting slapped. I hope they use that as like promo. Is just like
continuous.
Like,
Flo will.
Oh, yeah,
it'll be
for sure.
everywhere. So I don't have any other news, Josh. Do you have any other news? Zach and I did commentary on the Egg Guard Invitational
BJJ?
3. Dude, Ellis did a great job with that event. It was even more like streamlined and together than the second event. Looking to do another one coming up in the future, so hopefully we'll commentate for that again. A lot of great matches. I'll probably posting some clips on the Grappling Around Instagram of some of the cooler stuff that we saw at that event, because Ellis has given us permission. Egg Guard's given us permission to use some of that footage.
You can find it on YouTube, by the way. It was streamed
Events
on YouTube. You can find it.
So follow the Grappling Rewind to find those clips.
Yes, and as Maine posted, but I screenshotted it, and it was just really funny to me that like it was maybe like 7 or 8 comments down when I tuned in on my phone. It was like, these guys are better at commentary than most of the bigger things. And I was like, refreshing. Thank you, sir.
We try to do, honestly, we take it super seriously and try to do a great job with events.
Maine takes it super seriously. And then he's like, if you guys fuck this up for me, you just wait. He's like, I might be
guy behind the
crippled.
curtains.
He is. He's terrible. We've been sitting here for 45 minutes while he's been berating me.
We call that pre-show, Josh.
Sure.
All right. So, Look at this terrible person. All right, let's before we get off topic too much, let's move into the recap section for BJJ Stars. Is it 6 or 4?
That
6,
would
right?
be 6. That's Roman numerals, a V, and then a line.
This one was headlined by Felipe Penna defeating Patrick Gaudio via choke, and this one was like real exciting, back and forth.
That one was, yeah. Fortunately, and I hope they like chop up all the matches. I don't think they've done it yet.
I think all of them are chopped. As of this morning when I checked what rewatch stuff, I think everything was chopped up.
It's way easier to watch them chopped up, because if you try to watch the whole event, holy moly.
We're on Brazilian time a little bit.
It was long. The stream screwed up in the beginning. That's, whatever.
Almost every Brazilian event like this, there's the beginning is a little bit choppy sometimes.
It was funny because Chase and Hywell were like, oh, it's the internet in Brazil is taking a little bit longer to get to us. And I was like, oh, wow, that's
almost everyone. Oh, come on. It's like a hallmark of like straight up Brazilian events is that at the beginning of the event, the internet goes, and then by the end of the event, it's great.
No joke. Like the first match, it just like crapped out. Mm-hmm. It was funny.
As is tradition.
Anyway, let's go back to Felipe Pena and Patrick Gaudio. It pretty much went the way I suspected it to.
Yeah.
Where Patrick Gaudio was going to win. Felipe Pena was going to win. Caught myself there.
I was like, that's a different result than I thought, Josh.
But it was still really exciting. There was, a lot of back and forthing. There was the takedown that Felipe Pena initiated, but Gaudio went with it and rolled all the way through and ended up on top. And I was like, oh, sick. That's great. Yeah, that's...
And then you saw the next gear from Penna kick, and Penna was like, yeah, I'm not going to let this happen. And
it's so awesome the way he just, like, kicks it into gear, and he's just like, hey, guys,
it reminds me a lot of
go.
A couple of top guys that do that, where it's like Buchecha will do it, and you'll see, like, Penna will do it, galvao will do it, where it's like they just kick it into the next gear. And on that reversal that Gaudio hit, you just saw like Penna he made a decision that he just wasn't going to, like...
He was like, I'll lose some points. That's okay.
Yeah,
because then he just like got up essentially and was like, "Here, I'm going to do this." And what was funny was they left it that way for a while, but Pena went over, got 2, passed the guard, got 2, and they were like, "You're missing a point."
I think Chase called it out.
He went to mount, and
he got 4.
So it's now 8-2, and they're like, "It should be 9-2."
Yeah, and eventually they missed some points there.
Right. And then Penna, sorry, my mind wandered. Penna went with the movement and transitioned to the back, hung out just long enough to get 4 more, locked in a body triangle.
Like immediately, like just barely got the points. Like,
it was like points body triangle. It was like, super close.
I was almost concerned that he didn't stay long enough to get points.
That's why I liked US Grappling. Their rules were choice. You would take the back, and then you could also get more points for locking in a body triangle. I thought that was always... I think like the body triangle in general should be... It's
a lot of like things are starting to score. Like
they should. I think IBJJF should be like, look, because you'll see it. Guys will game it where they'll hold on to the back and then they'll okay, points, body triangle. It's like just give the
if
body
you want
triangle
the body
point.
triangle, like we understand it's a better position now. Like if you have the top end control, like you have the seatbelt there, or you have some sort of top end control, and you have the legs in any configuration where your feet or one leg can touch the other leg around the torso, it should count. It should be just like legs around the torso in any configuration.
I don't know.
With the top end control.
Have you ever been like super high though? Like you barely have that seatbelt grip and your legs are right next to your arms?
No, I mean around like not the chest, but I mean like
That's
around
part
like
of the torso. You realize.
yeah, you're right. Around the belt line, around like that
Around
sort of
the stomach-ish
area.
area,
Stomach
yes.
area, I think should count because we know that's like good back control. I think you should simplify the rule for that way, but. Penna does what he needs to do, gets the points very quickly, then transitions over to the body triangle there.
Yes, and then was like, you know what? It's time to end this match, and immediately just starts jumping on a basic cross collar choke from the back, and then just starts to transition and fall towards the legs a little bit, and finishes the collar choke.
Yeah,
and it's a great match. There were definitely times where it was like, ooh, this is a long match.
Yeah,
or a long event. It felt like it was 6 hours long. Like it kind of drug out a little bit. Excuse me. It kind of drug out a little bit. There were some, decisions and stuff like that, and people were going to go, it's because it was in the gi. I don't think it was the gi's issue. I think you would have had roughly the same results. Maybe.
Let's talk about the next match. That was no gi.
Well, yeah.
We have Luca in the most controversial match of the weekend by far, and there were a couple of them this weekend. Lucas the Hulk Barbosa defeating Matheus. It's so weird to look at that. Defeating Matheus Diniz in the biggest quote marks there, 2-0. Fuck what happened in the match. We'll talk about that later.
They did a whole lot of pushing back and forth. They were trying to take each other down. Diniz has been training at K Dojo with all of those crazy Russian people.
Rustem Chiziev. Who, if you don't know, until his match with John Blank at ADCC 2019, Mo said, I don't think anyone's ever touched his legs.
Yeah. He's a strange character. I want to say, don't know his age at all. And he's looked the same for the past 15 years. He could be 30 some odd years old. He could be 50 some odd years old. I don't know. But you could see that Diniz's wrestling has improved. He had excellent takedown defense. Lucas was deep on several takedowns, and he got out. Lucas did take him down, but it was mainly a standing affair.
Yeah.
Until near the very end.
What? Was it? It was less than 20 seconds.
It was 20-ish seconds.
Hold on. I want to pause for a second. Throughout the entire event, and it's a hallmark of most broadcast events, the timer on the broadcast does not necessarily match the timer at the event. They are separate timers. They are separate things. And so you'll have an official... That's why usually for UFC and stuff like that, the last 10 seconds, the timer fades out so you can't see it because it avoids that on-broadcast controversy. There's a timekeeper on the side of the mat or on the side of the cage or whatever that's keeping the official round time. The broadcast is just...
has a time up.
Just a time.
They're trying to run off of the same time. That's not necessarily always going to be the actual time. You see it on the IBJJF broadcasts all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Unless they've got that picture where they've got a shot of the scoreboard.
Oh, the actual score. Like ACBJJ used to do that famously. Egg Guard did that this weekend, actually. I love it. Had a little webcam of the actual...
Does it frequently, for finals matches and stuff like that.
So you have the actual exact time of the match. So this was not the case here. And throughout the entire night, there was, if you look...
there was some fuckery afoot.
Well, I went back and watched the ending time. Throughout the entire night, the matches went longer than the on-broadcast time. That was not synced up. So
it was a consistent thing.
In the last 15 seconds from what we're looking at on broadcast time, so probably 20 seconds left
20-ish
in the match, Diniz hits a fucking sequence. Gets the Hulk's back, kind of, with a one-arm rear naked choke, and I went...
It was almost a crucifix.
It was
almost. It wasn't exactly. It was an awkward off angle where you're like, it's not a great position, but you can start building off of it if you have time. Diniz did not have any time whatsoever.
Okay, this is a fun sequence. He's not going to score here because there's not enough time, but he has a hand around the neck. Ooh, that's a really deep hand around the neck.
It didn't look that deep on my first viewing of it, I was like, oh, that's nothing.
Same thing with me.
And then I'm watching it, and, I'm listening, and Chase and Hywell were going off of the on-screen time, and they were like, that's time. And, the ref gives an advantage, or what it seemed like an advantage. The time's over, and you hear, oh, well, the time's over. And then, like, 1, 2, 3, you hear the horn.
Yep.
But as you hear the horn and you hear stop, that's when Matheus lets go, and he goes, he's unconscious. And I was like, what in the fuck?
And then I was like, he's not unconscious with that.
Oh,
with that.
He was
No, I
napped
thought,
out.
I went, he's not unconscious with that choke. And I looked, and then you saw Hulk do the unconscious thing with his face where they go.
He did the fish lips too, where he's like, or not the fish lips, but you saw like the puffing out where he's like,
yes.
And then his mouth guard came out a little bit. Sorry, I didn't want to heavy breathe into the
that.
mic.
And Hulk will do that in some matches, but he was
he
flat.
was out.
He moved.
His arms dropped. He was gone. And then all of a sudden, like, he comes to, and I've done this before where I've been choked unconscious, and I wake up and I'm like, I fucking won. I've done it before. I've done it twice where I've been like, oh, man, that was a cool match. Like, I'm glad I won. It was really tough. And then I'm like, nope, mouth's a little tingly. I feel a little lost. I think I got choked unconscious. And that was the thing.
Yeah.
And then Hulk's obviously been choked unconscious enough to go, I should just flex and be like, I won. Because that's what he did. Yeah. He's out. And he waited a few seconds. And then it was like,
what Hulk does. Always what he does. And so this match ended in a very controversial fashion. They reviewed it for like, I think, 10 plus minutes.
For fucking ever, but they only showed it in slow motion. I was like, show it in regular time. Listen to when the horn goes off, not the fucking timer. And I think they got this wrong.
I do too. I think I think
they're breaking it down on flow.
If you're in the last second, and here's what I thought, and we said in the chat, what I said in the chat, the match continues until the referee stops the action. It's the referee's job to have the timer and go, it's here. If he is a second, or if he doesn't stop the fighters, it could be 3 seconds after. The referee stops that bout, and then that's what happened. So the referee stopped the bout after Hulk was unconscious.
Well, he said he did the whole, and this is one thing that I hate, is, when in IBJJF especially, they're like, Pado. And it's like, okay, if it's fucking loud in here, I can't hear shit. I'm hard. Me personally, I'm actually hard of hearing.
What you missed is Josh opening his hands up to the side and basically indicating that the match was over.
Right.
But
they
not
do
touching anything.
They do the
big
if you're
T,
playing baseball, they're
motion.
going, it's safe, but they essentially that says stop the match.
This would be great on the video version on YouTube. Of just both of us just repeatedly throwing our arms out to the side. If you're not subscribed to the Grappling Miranda on YouTube,
that's okay.
We also post cool interviews there and the show and other stuff. You should subscribe there because we post fun content that's not on the social media pages there.
Yeah. So anyway, sometimes you can't hear that. All he had to do was be really fucking close and then touch them and be like, we're done. And then at that point, when he was close and said, we're done, and Matheus would have let go, he would have heard. And he was out. He was huffing and puffing. He was out. And if he says anything differently, he's a liar. He was unconscious.
He even posted on Instagram. Like, he made a joke. He was like, sometimes I win in my dreams or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because you did win in your dreams. You got gifted a decision.
Yeah, so that was controversial. We got points win. So that was controversial. Shenanigans for sure.
Say it again,
that was the match, but
whip you.
definitely a fun one to break down this weekend and argue about on the online.
But there wasn't arguments. That was the best part because a lot of times in the Grappling Rewind chat, we will start arguing about like really minute shit. When Zach was talking about body locking becoming the meta, I was like, I don't think that's true. It might be so in no-gi, especially at the higher weights. And he was like, no. And we had a full-blown conversation.
3 hour. I had to go to work and then came back.
Well, also, the next day we actually trained in the morning and I started body locking. He's like, oh, it's not meta, huh? And I was like, hey, fuck you. You're big. It helps me.
So that was that match. Very fun. Honestly, like fun to talk about.
It was a great match. Yeah. Like, watch that ending sequence. Flo has like a little 2-minute breakdown trying to explain it. It was a good match. Yeah. Like, definitely watch it.
Worth your time. It was definitely worth a watch. Like, just because who it is, because it's fun, because it's controversial, it makes you understand the rule sets better.
Sort of.
Yeah,
That's a very ambiguous.
But it makes
decision.
you understand. Like, it's happened in Invicta a couple of years ago. So a woman was unconscious at the end of the fight, ended up winning the fight, and it was very controversial. And you can look and
like when Bisping got knocked unconscious, and they were like, "No, he's fine."
With Anderson Silva,
yeah.
But similar to that. So I'm a big rules buff. It helps me. These things have helped me go into rules and specifically look at and formulate my argument as to why I think something is what it is.
Yeah.
And so it makes you a better grappler, I think. So, moving on to the next match, Yuri Simoes versus Muhammad Ali. Yuri Simoes defeats Muhammad Ali via decision.
That shit was boring.
It was not the fastest or
Muhammad
most
Ali got
match.
his eye split open and had to get stitches. Mm-hmm. That was like the most exciting thing. That there were a few of those where it's like, come on.
Muhammad's first match since Lachlan and Nicky Rod at ADCC 2019.
Can't mute your phone?
It is muted. But my wife is calling me for some reason. Probably because she's hungry, Josh. I'm married now.
You can't go out to Wendy's or whatever.
I can't.
You're podcasting.
She has my car. I can't. I'm podcasting. Yeah. So that was happening in that match. We didn't see a whole lot. It was a match. We didn't see a whole lot from either guy, unfortunately.
Again, like the Michael Langhi versus Claudio Calocchina was kind of the same way, except for Langhi won 2-0.
Yep.
The Erberth Santos defeating Gutemberg Pereira via decision, which was okay. I can see it. I agree with it, but it was super close.
It was very close. And when it's super close, I'm not too upset.
Yes.
There's an argument for Gutenberg to taking this one. There's an argument for Erberth. I thought Erberth did more in the passing exchanges than Gutenberg did on the bottom, and that's why I didn't really have. But on the feet, I thought you had a little more initiation from Erberth and from Gutenberg. But you can look at it either way.
It was still like
I
boring.
did like Erberth's slam from Gutenberg's guard jump. That was kind of one of the more active pieces of the match. It was cool to see Erberth not quit as well because he's really good.
Again, it was brought up and it was like, if Gutenberg puts on the pressure, are we going to see him quit? Because
on commentary,
Howell was like, let's be real here. He's known to quit. I was like, oh, you're finally acknowledging it.
I actually really did appreciate that on commentary. Because
I did too, because people don't want to talk about it. But it's like, look, this dude quits. End of story. If things aren't going his way, he throws a temper tantrum, and either somebody gets a submission, he's like, tap, but this is bullshit, or he pisses himself, or he just straight up quits. Yeah. What was it? Wardzinski that mounted him?
That was allegedly a rib thing, and he tapped to the triangle from Langacker. That was allegedly like a neck thing.
Yeah, he's very hit or miss with the Grappling Rewind. We frequently call him Herbert because of Robert Drysdale
on ACBJ all those years ago.
Always called him Herbert. But again, still, like,
as a fan of grappling,
it's better that he didn't quit.
Yeah, as a fan of grappling, I want to see the guy's mental health prevail and get better, and him have the wherewithal to not quit because he's a black belt world champion. He's really, really good when he's on.
But sometimes he's straight up bitch made. There's no other way to explain it. He is very mentally weak. I'll put it that way. Is he a frightening competitor to run into? Absolutely. But if you start to get the upper hand, he crumbles.
So it was cool in this match that he did not do that.
Yes.
I was happy to see sort of a more return to form from Santos in that situation. Took a very close decision over Gutenberg Pereira. Again, after Pereira's run at the last BJJ Stars, Pereira for me is much watch TV.
I mean, he's never been super boring. Sometimes he's had some slower matches, but normally he's pretty exciting.
We did have that match versus him at Tim Spriggs at Fight to Win in Baltimore. That it was not the fastest of matches, and that he's won me back over after the last performance of BJJ Stars from that match. So appreciate it. Next match we have Tainan Dalpra defeating Athos Miranda. Athos, I said.
Not Thos. There's no T after it, or there's no H after it. The H is before.
Pronounce that word.
Athos. They called him Athos.
I thought they called him Athos.
No, they were calling him Athos. Athos Miranda via choke. Dalpra, man.
Next level.
First legitimate year as a black belt. Dude is just
passing was on point. I was actually really surprised with how well Athos's guard kind of stood up during the initial probably 2 or 3 minutes of the match. I thought, and even Cowell on commentary talked about Dalpra's probably going to take this quick. And then Athos went, no, I'm a pretty legit black belt. He's going to force him to use a variety of different guard passing techniques to hit around the guard. And he really had to make Dalpra adjust on the fly for the kind of longer range guard that he was playing, and he was comboing that very well with getting the legs back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Dalpra figured it out and went, "Oh, I can pass you with this modified Toriando to the side and do a long step pass."
That was slick.
And he got around, and then eventually goes to the
pressured through and
back.
If I'm not
So
mistaken,
I think it was a modified. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
modified collar from the back, but he went from the mount immediately to the back and locked it up, and it was just a very, very nice sequence. And again, I like seeing Dalpra.
These guys,
go back
I mean,
and watch his match with Michael Galvao from Up Your Game a couple weeks
Evolve.
ago. Evolve Your Game a couple of weeks ago in the semifinals. It was great.
Yeah. It was, again, like those AOJ black belts that were recent, Tainan, Jonathan, people like that are coming through, even like the up and coming blue, purple, brown belts. Like those are guys to watch because when they step on the mat as black belts, they're going to be at that level.
Yeah. And it's cool to see that lead into black belt is less and less of a thing every year, and it's frustrating, but it is kind of cool.
It's disappearing at the
professional level,
at the high levels, the professional levels.
I think IBJJF should have an amateur worlds where it's like you have under this many, they have under this many points to compete.
You have 49 points or less.
Yeah, I think you should have an amateur worlds.
No. But you would have everybody in it. It's like everybody that's not important. No, you just have everybody that you couldn't qualify because you just
amateur worlds.
No, you got to go out there. You got to do it. You got to get them points. You know what I mean?
I get it.
If you right now go into rooster weight for a black belt, you'll see Lee Rosenfeld from Form. He's the number 2 ranked roosterweight black belt, right below Mikey Musumeci. Why? Points.
Yeah.
Because he's just competing constantly. And that's all you need to do. That's it. You just got to find the ones that you got to go to and you got to place. And that's all you got to do. And you got to build up your points, and we call it a day.
So, moving on to why ever we got to this non sequitur, because Maine said something stupid.
And we talked about points.
Bianca Basilio defeats Gabi Fechter 8-0. For some reason, I thought it was 8-2, and we watched it again, and I was wrong about that. Bianca looked on, came out super aggressive, really good batting at the forehead, kind of throwing Gabi off.
Don't say it's really good. Let's bring this up too. Maine does not like that. Maine thinks it's hitting.
Yeah,
when you start palming the forehead when you're setting up
I think you should be required to set it up. I wasn't going to bring it up on the show, Josh.
I'm bringing it up.
I haven't fully formulated my argument against this yet.
There is no argument against it. You're just being a baby about it.
So, moving on. Bianca looked good, passed
just
the guard,
all
gets
over the
mount.
place.
She ends the match in the kind of the top of the mount quarter guard, trying to finish the choke, trying to get the sub, is unable to do so, but still very, very dominant decision over Gabi Fechter. Once it goes to the ground, she really sort of opens up a little bit and gets working. A little more, not tentative on the feet, but slower on the feet with a lot of hand fighting and pushing. But Bianca looks good as per usual.
She's
impressive.
a monster.
Yeah.
Excited to see her come ADCC. Exciting to see her compete whenever.
So, want to move through the rest of the results, Josh?
Isadora Cristina defeated Ingrid Alves 4-2. I believe this was the women's BJJ Stars TV show final.
Oh shit! Really?
I believe so. I didn't keep up with it too much, but I know
there were no subtitles in English, and after
you put the English ones on that are auto generated.
No, they didn't auto generate. That's the problem. So
after the second one, they stopped doing it, but those were hilarious.
So I tried to watch. I watched the third. I was like, I can't. I don't understand what's happening. I don't speak enough Portuguese to understand any of this.
Some of it was confusing. I'm like, are we doing a challenge? Why are we doing this, huh? Can we just get to the jiu-jitsu?
It was very confusing.
But that was the same thing with Lucas Galberto versus...
it was the men's champion.
Yes, defeating Natan Chung via decision. It was a really close match. Lucas was, he was on top and going a lot. Natan's guard is really good.
Yeah, I would love to see BJJ Stars kind of build that kind of roster of
I would
their
love for
guys.
them to try to work with somebody to try to get proper English subtitles going.
I would watch the shit out of that show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it was like it was very well. If you're not sure, we're familiar with. We talked about it probably a month or two ago. BJJ Stars did essentially a jiu-jitsu reality show,
Ultimate Fighter, essentially for
jiu-jitsu in Brazil, and it was like really well produced. It was really cool. It was shot well, but they had no English subtitles, so I couldn't. And it was like there's enough talking head pieces in it where it's like I can't figure out from context what is happening. But it's cool. I can't watch more than this.
The sponsors that they got for that show too were great.
I like
great. That, like, you see brand, you're like, wait, Halls is sponsoring this? What? So it's just like you see certain things, you're like, huh? But when it got to the actual jiu-jitsu and you got to watch that too, I was like, oh, hey, this is really cool. I don't know anything else going into this, and so I don't know the backstory or any of that.
And for me, for people that I'm not as familiar with, I kind of need that a little bit, and so I would love to see English subtitles, and then that would be an awesome thing to be able to talk about. Next match,
Demetrius Souza defeated Hudson Matheus 2-1 on advantages.
Very, very close match.
Dinah Sena defeated Ishurly Kessie via choke. Ishurly was up front in the beginning, and Dinah swept and came up and was like, you know what, now it's time to turn it on, and choked her out. That's a go back and watch match. And the first match of the night, the one that had the technical difficulties, which was really funny because it cut back to Highwell and Chase, and it was just on their face, and they're like, we have a stream, but we can't put it up on the screen for you to watch, but this is what's going on. So he's literally doing play-by-play, talking through the like full-blown play-by-play, like literally move to move to move to move,
which is
terrible, but not on his part.
It's tough.
It's just hard to do. It's like me. It's if we were commentating BJJ Stars and you were only listening to the commentary. You're like, okay,
very hard to do.
It's not fun to watch. But Matheus Spirandelli defeated Henrique Ciccone 6-2 in the first match.
BJJ Stars 6. Love to see it.
I love when they come on. I like that it's on Flow now. You don't have to really like look for it.
They also don't have the pay-per-view model anymore, which was super difficult to. The couple times they had them where it was always difficult.
It was difficult to
manage.
find it, but it wasn't that bad. But I like not spending another $15.
Yeah, having it on Flow is awesome. I love it. And they had a Brazilian broadcast, Portuguese broadcast, and an English broadcast. Chase and Howell killed it as per usual. I love hearing them commentate because they're, to the point. They know the grapplers. They both have a huge depth of knowledge to kind of fill me in where I may have forgotten. And so, yeah, overall, really fun event. I love that they're running it on Flow. Moving on to Fight to Win 175. I'm going to cover a couple matches on this. Let's start with the main event. Gabriel Souza defeating Ethan Krelenston via decision.
So I was talking again in the pre-show where Maine was like, berating me and trying to steal my snacks. I'm a fat guy. I need my snacks. And I was saying that the DDS guys, or at least Taza and Krelenston that I've noticed.
We're both on this card, by the way.
Yes. Have issues from shooting at a distance because neither of them really set up their shots to have a good shot from the distance. And when they're in close, a lot of those guys take advantage of that. So that was a big thing with this match where Souza would shoot pretty close to Krelenston. Like he would stay really close.
He would crowd him a little bit.
He would crowd him a lot bit. He definitely did a couple of just straight up drop downs to doubles from the tie up where he would like Krelenston would disengage for just a second and he would think, oh, okay, we're going to back up and go back in. And then Souza would just like drop down and go.
Yeah. I was really impressed with the you don't see it as much in jiu-jitsu. You see it a lot in like boxing and MMA, like the off timing and in almost like a countering kind of way where both guys will disengage with the understanding that we're going to kind of do this and reset, and then someone will use that to impose and do
what people do when they're good at like up close grappling, really close in small area grappling. It's something that I think that they saw that they're going to immediately start to address at DDS, but like it showed like there's a specific weakness. There's a chink in the armor of part of the squad.
Yeah.
And Souza at one point like immediately tries to go for double unders, and he is apparently superhumanly strong because he just picked him up like power bomb style and slammed him down. He tried to do that a couple times.
Carlson got wise to it though, and kind of did a good job defending it later in the match.
Yes.
Yeah,
but anytime Krelenston looked like he was going to get something, it got reversed. Like he went in and I was like, oh, he's going to get a takedown. And then it just got reversed and Souza ended up on top.
Yeah, I was super impressed here with Souza's base and his ability to reverse.
Amazing.
And just overall, I mean, we've always been impressed
like
with
in the
Gabriel
takedown
Souza.
game, again, like Fight to Win, they want you to do submissions. They want you to submit your opponent.
Yeah. Seth talks about that in the rules meeting. Is like, that's what we are looking for. That's what we want is fight
And it
to
didn't
win.
happen. But if you go in a perspective of like, okay, he took him down at will. He slammed him, which is a
point in fight to win.
Right.
Because you have
he
point
slammed
scoring.
him. He did all that stuff. It was like obvious that he won.
Mm-hmm.
But going into the next match,
Bit of controversy here.
I wouldn't say that still.
Well, sorry, Seth addressed that there was controversy.
Well, people were complaining about it.
People complain about a lot of fight to win decisions.
People complain about
and
everything.
I kind of appreciate Seth's response. Like he addresses it, which I do appreciate. He also will go, look, man, if you take it to a decision, like
you have to expect that it might not go your way.
And he's very, very open about like, don't let it go to the decision because like you needed to do more in that match. And so he's very unapologetic about that in his rules meetings.
I think there was one point near the end of that match where Taza could have at least fallen back for a footlock, which would have won him the match, where he would have just like tried to grab it. And
we're on to
Thiago Adao versus Oliver Taza, which
the co-main
Adao
event,
won via split decision.
Close split decision.
Which is actually out of order because it's not the co-main event. That was the third to last match.
Was it not?
No, the Helton, or not that one. The why is it all the way down here? The Federico Silva versus Justin Hale was actually the co-main event.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I watched it after the fact, and I watched them individually.
Right. But there was like a lot of back and forth, again, there was no setups to the shots, so it was kind of easy for Adao to sprawl.
Mm-hmm. Taza did do a really good job of, and something we've seen Nicky Rod do a ton, in like because the wrestlers do it. When Adao would get into the legs, like Taza did a really good job of body locking around the top of the torso. It makes it really hard to drive through and lift someone up because essentially you have to lift someone up who's on top of you and gable gripping you under your stomach.
I wish they would just like build off of that. So if you're body locking on that and you're like sprawling out and the guy's starting to back away, maybe you can just like peek an arm through and like hit a go behind really quick, which Krelenston, going back another match, hit a nice little duck under and went to the back briefly and almost got Souza down, but that got reversed. It was a very close affair with Taza and Adao. Again, with the head touching thing that Maine doesn't like. Adao was, he was a clubbing, essentially, wrestling terms, what he was doing. He was just doing a super hard collar tie. And you see like the really gritty colleges, those wrestlers will do it. You'll see it from like Iowa.
You see it in like Cyborg and Wagner and
really tight. But I mean, you saw the hitting version of it in Cyborg versus Gordon Ryan. Like he was literally like fucking
he was
karate
just
chopping
him in the face there.
But he just tied up hard, and you saw Taza like turn to the ref and be like, "Ooh, he's hitting me," and I was like, "No, don't complain about that. He's not hitting you. He's just tying up really hard, and you don't like it."
It's totally hitting, but
that wasn't hitting. It's just tying
we got
up
in a very long argument before the show.
That was like a 15-minute argument. It was hilarious.
We're not going to put everyone through that right now.
It went to Adao. Again, it was a split decision, so it was close. I wouldn't have been. This is my thing. I wouldn't have been upset if it went the other way. Like, not a lot happened in this match. Adao, like, tried to sweep. He definitely went for, like, a kiss of the dragon trying to take the back near the beginning of the match.
I thought Adao was just a little more active. Really was what it came down for me. Is he was a little more active. He got a little
just
more going.
Touch.
And I think on those takedowns, he's the guy attempting more takedowns.
They were both kind of trying it. It just, like, it didn't really happen for anybody.
We are seeing Taza implement more wrestling. And he's continuing in all of his matches.
But it needs to be refined.
Yeah.
Like, he's like out at a distance and he's not doing any setups or fakes to get a takedown, like proper penetration for the takedown. So it's like, oh, you can read that. And if people are like good at with takedown defense, where they can wait for you to come in, especially if there's like either no setup from a distance or like obvious setup, which also happened where it was like, he foreshadowed his takedown, where if you're really good with getting your hips away, the people can get in super tight, and then at the last second they're on top of you with their takedown defense with sprawling.
Yeah.
That's mostly my takedown defense, where guys will get super in deep on my hips and I can still get them away. And, that's what was happening, is where Adao was like in there tight, but just went over top really quick and prevented the locking of the hands, the deep penetration, the cutting of the angle, all of those things that would have gotten Taza the takedown. I think, again, especially with DDS, they're ever evolving, and they take everything and they go, here, let's do this. Let's add on to this. I mean, you've got Nicky Rod down there, who's a good wrestler. You've got Tonin, who's a good wrestler.
Yep.
You've got people. You had St. Pierre there for a while, just recently.
Yeah.
Who's an amazing wrestler with, like, other than MMA, no wrestling experience. Which is mind blowing.
Which is just wild that you hear like the stories of like when he started wrestling, and you're just like, wait, dude, what, adult? Like you just started that?
Yeah, and then he was keeping up with the Canadian Olympic team. So, exactly.
So, fun matches. Let's also talk about Frederico Silva versus Justin Hale.
So Frederico Silva, if anybody's not familiar with him, you can go back and watch his match against our training partner, Rob Sullivan, who just got his black belt. There's some news. There's some news right there.
Greg Liu and Rob Sullivan.
Yes. Both got their black belts. Greg Liu definitely helped out the Grappling Rewind at the very beginning.
At the into the first, like, more than the very beginning. Like
he started at the very beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, helping out
and
the
then
show a
helped
ton.
us along the way. So shout out to both of them. Rob is also taking over Baltimore BJJ as the owner. So it's even cooler that now he's a black belt that
Is that
owns
official
the
yet?
gym.
Is that out now in public?
It's out in public, yes.
Okay. I didn't know if that was public yet.
It's not. The sale isn't happening till I don't know when exactly, but it's going to happen. So congratulations to...
Rob's also been on the show before?
Yes. Congratulations to them. They had a match that, the Grappling Rewind will also argue about a lot. But in this match, there was nothing to argue about. Frederico Silva was on point. He pulls guard and immediately, start looking for the De La Riva hooks. At one point, gets that, starts locking up the lasso as well on the outside arm. Looks to go, and Hale sits down, is like, I'm not going to get swept into a bad position. And that was really the end of it for Hale. He got through. Frederico got through really, really well. Was passing and maintaining position, just kind of doing what he wanted. Starts sinking in the cross collar choke from half guard, which is one of my favorite things to do, because you start addressing the hands from half guard, and when they do that, you can pass.
Well, it does both.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they try to stop the pass, you're choking them more. He eventually gets through and passes, and then mounts and does another one of my favorite finishes, where he starts to lock it in. It's getting deeper and deeper. It looks like it really sucks. And then he starts to lean off just a touch to his right and drops his head, and then starts to arc it back towards the middle of the head position, which helps tighten up.
This is how you taught me to do it years and years ago.
Or
a way you've shown me to do this.
Yes,
years ago.
And another shout out to another friend, Kenny Savercool, learned this specific position. It was either Paul Schreiner or Barrett Yoshida. I can't remember who he learned it from, but he was like, dude, it makes the choke so much tighter. And it's like a rainbow collar choke, because you start your head on one side and then you try to
and that's
rainbow
what you taught me as the rainbow collar choke, and I always have referred to it. And when I teach it to my students, talk about it as the rainbow collar choke.
Right, and it's a normal collar choke, but it helps differentiate as from just coming down straight Hodger Gracie style, like, I'm going to beat you with the most basic thing in the world. Like, it's tiny little adjustments that help tighten it and make it suck a lot.
Yep.
It was a great match. It was really, really fast, like 3 minutes, maybe 4.
I think 3.5 minutes.
Something like that. It was a great match. It was a great win. It was really cool. The card was really good. Are we going to go into the results now, or we're going to do that a little bit later?
Let's do black belt results and then judo, and then we'll do the rest of them at the end of the show.
Okay, so Gabriel Souza defeated Ethan Krellinston by decision. Hiago Adao defeated Oliver Taza by split decision. Helton Jose Jr. defeated Austin Avera via split decision. Sean Joseph defeated Jeff Baker via split decision.
That was fight of the night for the black belt. Sorry,
Don't make me wait that
my
long.
computer wasn't plugged in a minute ago, and I realized we had like 20% left on the laptop, and I'm just making sure that it's going up percentage wise. So
Maine, when I came down here, had a 50-inch TV screen sitting on his desk.
55.
Whatever, size queen.
I think it's actually a 45-inch.
Whatever it is.
It's a big TV on this desk.
There was a large TV that he was using as a monitor for his newer
and I can't lift
computer.
it off the desk because of my back, so I needed Josh
My
to move
spine.
it off. So everything
Hey.
everything was unplugged. I also had the computer for commentary, so
Yeah.
I had to basically put together the podcast set in about 30 minutes when Josh was here. Moving on.
Rafael Carnero defeated John Schell via loop choke.
And that was submission of the night for the black belts.
Rafael Rosendo dos Santos defeated Nicholas Walters via choke. Steven Hernandez defeated Jason Mask via decision. Federico Silva defeated Justin Hale via choke. And Josh Williams defeated Andrew Chirico via armbar.
And Veterans bringing back judo.
That was nice to see that they actually brought back judo. It's been a while since they've done that. Hopefully they start implementing it. Normally it's like super exciting.
Dude, the judo matches, the way that they do it is just fire.
Dan Dykeman defeated Joe Tamburello via rear naked choke.
Yep. So moving on to our recap of Submission Underground 24. We're going to run through this relatively quickly. This was the $10,000 tournament. First place, $5,000 second place for who is going to fight for Mason Fowler's absolute belt. Josh is pointing at me.
Yeah, because that's actually the beginning of the thing, and the semifinals were up there.
Going through results here.
You can get through this entire card in about 20 minutes.
The whole card, I think
It's an hour and a half long.
Is it hour 40, I think?
Somewhere around that. You can immediately remove all of Chael Sonnen's extra talking. Like, I've said it before, and I'll say it a million more times. He is the worst when it comes to commentating or having any knowledge whatsoever of the grappling scene
It's
atrocious.
It's a bit frustrating.
The fact that at one point we had the 8 billionth rematch of Pedro Marinho versus Roberto Jimenez,
who fought last weekend.
Who fought last weekend?
I think
a billion times.
The 8th time they
a billion times. Let's just say a billion. Who cares?
I think it's the 4th time at black belt they fought in the last year.
Whatever. They've gone against each other a bunch, and Chael Sonnen repeatedly is like, I don't know who this Pedro Marinho guy is, but he's looking good. It's like, holy shit. Do you do like zero research? Is there nobody else to be like, hey, this guy is pretty credentialed? Like, how long have we've been covering him since Purple Belt, right? When he won like Kasai?
Late purple, early brown. I know since brown, but we've been covering.
Yeah, I think it was like late purple. He won one of the Kasai qualifiers.
Oh yes,
he won the Kasai qualifier.
You are correct.
And he went into that, and then he got like a brown. Yeah.
Yep, I remember that. As since purple belt, we've been covering him.
So, everybody, especially now within the past like 2 years, knows, if you follow even on the outskirts of jiu-jitsu, Pedro Marinho because he's been in everything.
And he's a big deal, and he's in the semifinals, he's in the finals. We fought Michael Galvao last weekend for the finals of Third Coast. Like, it's a little bit, it's
frustrating when you have somebody
moving on from
like
that topic, you can get to the whole event very quickly. There were some fun matches. Again, Josh and I aren't the biggest fan of EBI format, but there were some big names in this event. Kyle Bain, crushing through it very quickly in his first match, getting some heel hooks.
You had Tanner Wisegraham defeating Nicholas Maximoff via fastest escape, which I think is dumb. Roberto Jimenez defeated Adam Smith via rear naked choke. He just was heavy on him.
Dude,
and just
he used the cage. Like, I was
very well.
I'm always impressed every time we see Roberto in a cage, how much he's willing to cage wrestle and just like dig guys into the fence. Like, he dug.
He was shooting those darces off of the fence, and like, genius.
Yeah.
And
because a lot of guys that are jiu-jitsu guys can't play to the fence well. Like, Mourinho has always Jimenez has always really impressed me every time we've seen him on SUG, like, play to the fence, and it's been like, that's cool to see that fold of his game we don't see very often.
Pedro Marinho defeated Jim Ehlers via heel hook super quick, and that was the all of the brackets in the beginning. That was the quarterfinals, whatever. Going up to the semifinals, you have to scroll up, man.
Oh.
Kyle Bame heel hooked Tanner Wisegram quickly. Shocker. Pedro Mourinho again defeated Roberto Jimenez. He won via heel hook. That was then it was broken up by the Women's Submission Underground Absolute Championship between Raquel Canuto and Amanda Lowen. And here's one of the things that I absolutely despise: overtime. Raquel Canuto, to put it lightly, beat the brakes off of Amanda Lowen in regulation. Couldn't get the finish.
We saw her almost finish in the same way that she finished Tubby Aliquin a couple of weeks ago at Fight to Win, where she had that body, that triangle from the back set up and was working on the arm in that 5-minute time. Then time runs out and they go to overtime. But you saw Raquel, like, she fought off some heel hooks and some leg entries in the beginning, gets the top position and like puts tons of pressure on Lowen. Lowen's able to weather the storm and they go to overtime after 5 minutes.
So here's one thing that I noticed too, because of the overtime, is Lowen has the bridge of her nose pierced and left it in.
I was like, surprised about that too. I noticed, like, wow, I noticed in regulation.
It's not going to get ripped out, but maybe I just haven't noticed it. But good on her. I think that Canuto could have just really squeezed the shit out of Lowen's face and like broken the jaw or got her to submit before that was the case. But I guess she was like, oh no, I want to like legitimately choke her. And the only time Lowen got out was the reason why she won in overtime.
The first round she escaped.
She escaped with 6 seconds left.
Got a little technical difficulty there. First time ever that the recording just stopped in the middle of the show. We're gonna finish up SUG. We talked for a couple minutes before we realized.
It was super quick with the final, like the women's match. Lowen won with 6 seconds left, with 6 seconds in the bank essentially to retain her title. Third place match, Roberto Jimenez defeated Tyler Wisegram via rear naked choke, and the final, Kyle Bame was just a little too big for Pedro Mourinho.
Dude, he's got those giant hands, and that once you get Bame on your back, like that is such a difficult position because we've talked about him being absurdly strong in that position. We saw him win. We've seen him win in this format before. The BJJ Fanatics, Brown Belt
and
GP,
Black Belt,
and Black Belt GP both run this kind of EBI style rule set. Bame is so hard in the overtime. He's one of the best guys in the world aside from Gordon and Fowler at the EBI style rule set. He's so good. We're going to see now Bame take on Fowler in the future. I would love to see that match be 10 minutes. I don't want to see it only 5 minutes. Both guys, when they have very well-matched opposition, tend to come out a bit slower, and I just don't think that match is going to be super action-packed unless it is a bit longer. Then both guys will open up in a longer match. I just would love to see that. So we're going to see that in the near future. Kyle's going to take on Mason. Wins 10 grand, and Mourinho wins $5,000. I like that Mourinho also got a good payday here, coming in second place.
Jimenez won $2,500, I believe.
Yeah, sorry,
for third place.
I like that.
Yes, it went
that
down.
Everyone's getting paid out though. That's nice.
This is the first time that they did that, but I think that's really cool.
That's awesome. Like, I love to see guys travel, compete. You win matches, you get money. Paid. Yeah, that's really I think important
for the professional level. It's very important.
Yeah. So that does it for SUG. On to the main event. CFFC, or Cage Fury, is running Fury Professional Grappling. This is their first event. It is a really fun card. They have prelims, they have a main card, and they have essentially an entire card for
post limbs.
Yep, which is the post match. The Bellator does this, where it's after the card. They do a number of different fights, and so they're doing a number of different, probably local grapplers. Different Ryan Stark.
I know. I see that, and I always think of Ryan every single time.
Yep. So let's talk about these. Let's talk about these couple
of matches. Yeah. Yep. John Battles versus Ma Williams, 145 no-gi match.
Should be
very
awesome.
Cool.
Battle puts on a show every time. He's a super active guy. If you haven't seen him fight before, watch him on finishers. Watch him on Fight to Win.
How many times have you tagged him in the description? Of the show. Exactly.
Battle's a fun, action-packed guy. I love watching him fight. A little less familiar with Williams, but always tune in for a John Battle fight.
Nick Salas versus Des McDonald at 155 in the gi. Danny Myra versus Robert De La Rionda at 165 in the gi.
Dude, both Nick and Danny are super adept lapel players. They actually have their lapel like passing instructional thing that they put together. Look for lapel wizardry in both these matches. These are 2 of only, I think, like 5 gi matches on the entire card. So look for both these guys to show up and put on a fun performance in the gi. Should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it.
We have Connor Dixon versus Kyle Myers, who I've competed against before, so it's probably in the 200-pound range of a no-gi match. And the main event of the card, even though it's not the last fight, you have Danielle Kelly versus Sofia Amarante, 115-pound no-gi main event. That match is going to be fire.
It's going to be so good. I'm so excited. Dude, Kelly and Amarante have looked so good recently. We've seen Kelly really recently on Who's Number One. I think on back-to-back Who's Number Ones.
Was that last week?
I think that was it 2 weeks ago or last week?
But it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
Recently.
But she won via, was it triangle choke?
I
think it was triangle choke.
Put me on the spot, Josh.
Triangle choke or armbar. Oh God!
Yeah, very fun black belt main event. I think it's a
Jay
local,
will be like, it was this.
Yeah, he will. It's a local East Coast card. A lot of East Coast talent here.
It might be
a ton
in
of fun.
The 2300 arena.
I think it is 2300 arena.
I saw the address and it said 2300 something. That's probably the 2300
yeah,
arena.
up in Philly. So we may
There's
potentially
a lot of matches. The price point at first I was like $50 to come and watch that. But if you're watching it, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8. You've got at least like 30 plus matches.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good 6-hour event.
It's like $1 and some change per match.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see. Streaming is going to be great. You know that it's on Fight Pass, which is cool. So I'm looking forward to a well-produced event. I'm excited for it. Should be a lot of fun.
And that's the other downside is that's the only thing to preview right now because it is 4th of July
Watch
weekend.
like ACBJB running or something. Watch some other. Watch
more of this shit.
We're some major event we're missing. Remember that time we forgot ACBJJ 10, and it was the most stacked of all time.
We forgot ACBJJ like 2 or 3 times.
It became a running joke on the show after
in the very beginning.
Probably 2018. It became a running joke. They're like, "Oh fuck, we forgot AC," because it was the only event. Or it was one of the major events that was on YouTube, and so it didn't make our standard coverage list every week. And I would put that list together throughout the week,
and then we would watch and be like, "Oh, there's this match on." It's like, "Holy shit, we didn't cover it, but here's the results from it now."
Back when we were much less organized than we are now. So
we're still pretty disorganized.
I'm very much more organized than I was.
You are. The rest of us, not so much.
But it always makes me super nervous when there's one event. I'm like, "What's happening?" Josh, like, it's a holiday weekend. Yeah, we're recording now. It's good. Yeah, it's been a whole big week for me. So
that's the show.
Yeah, got anything fun planned for the week, Josh? I know your class in the morning is getting a little busier.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
That's awesome.
If you're in the Baltimore area, 6:00 in the morning, Tuesdays and Thursdays, come to class.
That's so early.
I am not a morning person. I despise waking up.
You've
but
run
I
that
will
class
get
for
up.
years.
I've been going to 6 a.m. Jiu-Jitsu for I want to say 10 years.
Ugh.
And there were times where, like, when I'm fat, like, I'm a big dude. But there were other big dudes that I train with. And it honestly,
I know that as the big dude class. The 6 a.m. class is the big dude class.
So that used to just be like me and Randall. And Randall's like 275 and 6'3". And then it was me and John.
Yeah.
John's 6'3". Anywhere from like 260 to 300, depending on if he's gone on vacation or not.
Yeah.
And like, or Zach would come in, and Zach's like a solid 250 and almost 6'3".
He's usually 220. Quarantine, he's 250 now.
He floats.
He does jump now.
He's all over the place. Ryan Stark used to come to that class every once in a while, and I felt terrible for him.
Ryan Stark's about $140, $135.
Yeah, in the rain.
Yeah.
But now I'm building up a nicer class. I'm actually enjoying teaching. Which is something I didn't think I would ever say.
Dude, I love teaching.
Teaching is really fun.
I love instructing.
It's a nice little mix. Every once in a while, we get some purple and brown belts in there, but it's white belts and blue belts, and everybody's learning. There's a really good wrestler that's in there that I love training with because It helps me because he stays super far based back and stuff like that. And then again, heavier people. And we have, especially on the Thursday part, sometimes Tuesday, a lot on Thursday, a lot of women come in, which gets me super stoked that more and more women are coming into our gym. Yeah. And I get to teach them and they get to experience something in a relaxing environment where it's not like super formal or anything like that. It's very laid back.
I love about our gym. It's super chillax. So,
but I'm not going to be training this week. I just got tattooed. Also, if you're in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, Ryan Clark from Tattoo Paradise, that's at R Clark Tattoos, and that Clark has an E at the end. Hit him up. He's the shit.
He's done a lot of your work.
He has not done a lot of my work, actually.
Has he not?
He's done the new one. He did this one. And his first ever tattoo is on my leg. It's that little cleaver with the 13 in it.
Oh, yeah.
So
a lot of the work that I can see, actually.
Oh, you can see all of my work pretty much. And he didn't do that.
He didn't do Sakuraba.
Sakuraba, Majin Buu, John Candy as Barf from Spaceballs.
Josh has some very interesting tattoos, and we love them. So I got nothing going on this week. I'm filming a bunch of time-lapse stuff that I'm excited about, recovering from commentary and still doing PT, back at work full-time now.
From home?
Yeah, right now, just because I can't stand for more than like 2 minutes without a bunch of pain. But we're working on that.
I sent Maine an article this morning about them finding surgical implants that help straighten out your spine and relieve pain.
It's mostly it's like an E-stim essentially for internally mounted. That's what we're doing. I don't know. It's like it's a surgical implant. It's a surgical E-stim essentially is what it is. And I respond really well to E-stim for my leg and back pain. So it was kind of cool.
Well, let's get in contact with anybody in the UK. Maine will be a guinea pig.
So, Josh, I think that's all that does it for this week. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Josh.
And we are the Grappling Round. We'll see you on the mats, whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.